Okay, let's see. I'm having one technical difficulty. I'm going to have to restart a piece of software. So give me just a minute to fix something because something's not quite right. So give me 1 minute and then we'll move forward with everything, okay? Okay, I think that fixed it. I think we're good. So we should have sound there and we should have sound there. Okay. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome on in. So here we are for the first day of the semester of statistics, and today is largely going to just be about explaining what the class is about and what we're doing. So a couple things. Looks like many of you figured out how to get to class. That's great. 2 ways of consuming these class meetings. One is to be in Zoom, one's to be on the YouTube stream. You can do whichever way you like. What I will say is the YouTube stream will have visuals behind me, whereas if you're in Zoom, you're just going to see the green screen, but it's a green wall behind me. So you won't be able, a lot of what I'm talking about and showing you, you won't be able to see. Whereas if you're watching the YouTube stream, you'll actually see stuff. So it's up to you. Some students prefer to just be in Zoom. Some students prefer to just be in the YouTube stream. Some students actually open a window for both, which is totally fine. But what I will say is if you have both windows open, you should mute one of them because the audio is off, but there's a delay for the audio, so you're going to get a weird echo. So some people, again, it's up to you. Some people like to listen to the Zoom meeting while they watch the YouTube stream, however you want, right? However you want to do it is fine, just you're going to get a weird echo. The nice thing about the YouTube stream is we get the closed captions automatically inserted in there. So for anyone who needs closed captioning, it happens within an hour or two of the video being stopped. The closed captioning gets automatically inserted. So for anyone who needs closed captioning, there you go. Also, one nice thing about the YouTube stream is it's archived. So if for some reason you're sick and can't come to class or something like that, you can watch it later where I talk about things. And then you can watch the class. Okay, so right, so that's where we're going with things. So let's see, I'll wait because there'll probably be some more people showing up. So I'll wait on taking roll, but I am going to end up having to take roll. For those people in Zoom, it's totally your option if you want to turn the camera on or not. I will say it's kind of difficult having a conversation with a bunch of black rectangles. So it's just kind of, it makes it more difficult for the professor, me, because I'm just sort of talking to myself, right? There's no human beings. So you are not required to turn on your camera, but it is kind of helpful if I can actually see people once in a while. A lot of teaching is reading nonverbal cues. And when you see people looking confused, you know, okay, maybe I need to re-explain that or spend some more time on that or expand on that or whatever. If I'm just talking to black rectangles on a Zoom screen, then it's hard for me to know if anything's making sense to anybody. So I would appreciate it if you'd turn your cameras on, but you are not required to, okay? Let's see. So where are we at? So you signed up for a statistics course, and you signed up for an on-ground statistics course. That is, we're supposed to meet 4 hours a week in Science 354. But as most of you have figured out, the school has decided that for at least the next 2 weeks, we will be doing everything online. Now, does that mean we're going to go back in 2 weeks? Not necessarily, okay? That's just the decision at the moment. We're going to spend at least 2 weeks online. Could it be 4 weeks? Maybe. Could it be 6 weeks? Maybe, right? I mean, hopefully it's not like the whole semester, but it's likely to be a couple weeks, and they're already sort of in the decision stages of deciding, should we extend that? So if you know, we won't know until Ventura College actually makes a decision. But if you start hearing that the UC system and the CSU system is extending that date of their online classes, it becomes that much more likely that we will extend ours, right? But we won't know until the chancellor gives us a message. Let's see. So we got a question here. So someone's asking, this was an in-person course? Yeah. So if you pull it up, we're supposed to meet Monday, Wednesdays from 10 to 11:50 in Science 354. So this was definitely an on-ground course, which I think is actually helpful for a number of reasons. Many classes were able to transition to online classes perfectly fine. Math is not one of those. We are seeing people struggle in online classes in ways that they don't. Now, most of us have gotten much better at teaching online classes in the last 2 years, but the reality is students need help in mathematics more than they need help in any other class. And when we're online, students are not seeking that help. They're not coming to office hours as much. They're not coming to the tutoring center and getting help. The tutoring center, I believe, is having Zoom tutoring right now, but students are just not going there nearly as much. So that's one reason it would be good to get back on ground, which we may be doing in 2 weeks. We may be doing, I've already heard that there's potentially an extension till the end of January, and some schools are talking about mid-February. Who knows? We won't know. So watch those emails, because once we go on ground, I have to take roll in the classes as well. There's a date coming up, and I have to take roll until that date. I have to have really accurate records. And then depending on the class, I may keep taking records after that. We'll kind of see how things go. So I guess we're probably far enough in that I should be able to take roll at this point. So since this is on a YouTube stream, which was going to become a YouTube video, I'm not going to say your whole name when I do roll. So what I need you to do is either respond. If you're in Zoom, feel free to unmute yourself and tell me you're here, and then mute yourself again. If you're watching the YouTube stream, feel free in chat to just say, even if you just give me if your screen name doesn't match your real name, just give me your first name, and then I'll match it up with the one I call out, because there's a little bit of a delay on the YouTube stream. So if I call out a name and then you just say here, I might be a couple names past that and I won't know which name you are. So just tell me your first name in the chat on YouTube if you're here. And a note about chat. So if you're going to use the chat on either Zoom or YouTube, it should be appropriate to the class, right? It should be something that obviously is appropriate, right? We're not doing other stuff, but it can be very helpful. Sometimes students will ask a question, and then I can see that question, and then I can kind of go, okay, I'm going to get to that question in 1 minute. I want to finish up the point I'm making, and then I can get to that question right over there, right? Right, okay, so we already have some people. So I should be able to get some just from the chats, from the names in here. So give me a minute to write these down. Let's see, so... okay, here, here, here. So if your name is showing up normally in the participants, like if that's your real name, then I'm just sort of looking there now to see who's who. Okay, I got, where was it? I got one, right? Yep. One. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I got that. Oh, here we go. Couldn't find that name. It's hard when there's 3 names. You always have to look to see where they put it alphabetically. Let's see. Okay. I think I got everybody there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. And then we've got over here. Got that. There. 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 Okay, that was great. Very, very good coordination there. I think we got 90% of that done in a fairly straightforward way. So I thought I saw this name a minute ago. No. So is Willie D? Willie D, if you're in one of these streams, can you let me know? Just putting your first name up there. Let's see. I don't know how to pronounce this. If it's Javon or Havon Foy. Not sorry. I just said the full name. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how to say that name. Havon F. If you're here, let me know. And Donovan W. Are you in one of these spots? No, those 3 people I just named are not here, correct? Not seeing anything. Okay, then let me mark them absent. Okay. I will be taking roll for a number of reasons. One of which is I tried to be flexible over in the last couple of years with students. People would say, hey, I work at the class time. Can I just watch the videos later? And what would happen is over the course of the semester, the attendance would just, each time we'd meet, there'd be like 1 or 2 less students till the end of the semester when almost no one's showing up. And then what would happen is those people showing up would not pass the class because they don't know what's going on, right? So basically, if I take attendance, the pass rates go up, which is in everyone's best interest. The school wants high pass rates. You want high pass rates. So I'm taking roll. So I don't love doing it this way, but I kind of have to because otherwise people fail. So attendance is mandatory. It's one of those things that gets looked at, especially at the end of the semester. If there's a close call on a grade, students who haven't done homework, students who haven't attended class, you're not going to get that benefit of the doubt to say, okay, let's round this person up to the next highest grade. Well, if you haven't come to class and you haven't done the homework, why should you get rounded up, right? But those people who have obviously been putting an effort into the course, depends, right? Usually those people who have been showing up and doing their homework get the grade they want anyways, right? If you've been coming to the class meetings, you do all your homework, you're probably going to get an A in the class, right? So you don't need that rounding up. But that's kind of a thing I look at when, if someone's really close, it's like, well, did they really put the effort into this class? If the answer is no, then why should you get an extra consideration if you didn't put the effort in, right? The other reason is I have to drop people in a couple of weeks here. It's what's called census. So the state of California actually pays for most of your education. You've all either paid tuition or financial aid paid your tuition for you, but most of the like if you look at what tuition costs, it doesn't even pay for the professors, let alone the whole school. It's because most of the money of education comes from the state, right? People pay taxes, and then that's one reason taxes are important because it funds our colleges and schools and stuff like that. But the state doesn't want to pay for people who aren't really doing successful in the class. So there's a date coming up towards the end of January where I have to drop people who are either not doing homework, not showing up, basically not really participating in the course. I have to drop those people. It's called census for us. So I have to have records so that I can defend who I drop and who I don't drop for census. The school takes it very, very seriously because the state takes it very, very seriously. So if you don't want to be dropped, you need to be coming to class. You need to be doing the homework. You need to be showing successful progress in the class by showing up and doing homework, and then you won't get dropped. So just basically do what you're supposed to do as good students, and then I don't have to drop you. I don't want to drop anybody, right? But for one thing, it takes time for me to do it, but also like some students, are just having a difficult week or someone gets COVID or something like that. So I have, but I have to go through. It's one of the things in the contract they take very seriously. I have to take that census date seriously and drop people who aren't succeeding in the course. Now, if you get COVID and you're out, you can't do work for 4 or 5 days, send me an email, make contact with me, and, that may mean that you don't get dropped from the course. If it looks like, if things look legitimate, like you have a legitimate reason why you couldn't do things for a period of time, then you may not get dropped. Now, if you haven't done work for 3 weeks and then say, oh, well, I had COVID, it's a little doubtful that the reason you didn't do work for 3 weeks was because you had COVID. You may still get dropped. So basically what I'm saying is take the class seriously, do what you need to do in order to complete the course successfully, and you won't get dropped, right? So do that. So I will be taking roll, and that was a great way to get that done. Okay, so that out of the way now. Got to figure out where I want to put this document. Okay. There shouldn't be anyone needing an ad code. Is that right? So we have room in the class. So, but I don't think anybody would be in here because you wouldn't get to Canvas if you weren't in the class. So there shouldn't be any kind of ads. So I shouldn't have to worry about that on day one. So we can get into things. So you signed up for statistics, which is great. This is a college level course. For many of you, this is the math course that you need for your degree, right? Some of you may have to take more stuff, but for many of you, this will satisfy your math requirement for your certificate or your degree or whatever it is that you're pursuing, your educational goals. For many of you, this will take care of that mathematically. It's a great course. You can learn a lot. If you take it seriously, you will learn things that will actually make you better in everyday life. You will understand things better. Statistics is a very weird subject. People on a daily basis use statistics to manipulate you and to get you to think things and to get you to do things. We do it all the time, or we hear it all the time. Politicians on both sides of the aisle very frequently misuse statistics, right? Both knowingly and unknowingly, they misuse statistics, and then they make laws based on not understanding those statistics, and they convince all of us to think a certain way based on incorrect statistics. So the better that you understand statistics, the better you are for listening to your politicians and realizing when what they're telling you is true and when what they're telling you is manipulation, right? So that's good for you to be able to be armed, because in our political climate, you need to be able to separate the reality from fantasy, right? So that's helpful. And then presumably, if you're taking this class, that's because whatever future job you wanted to get thought it was a good idea for you to understand some basic statistics, right? It's helpful too. So that's pretty good. It's going to help you at your job, presumably. It's also going to help you in everyday life when you're trying to understand when people are using statistics to control what you think, or versus when they're actually trying to share real information with you. So two really good reasons to be to understand at least a base of statistics, right? These are helpful. And we'll go into all of that stuff in more detail as the class progresses. So class meetings, you saw this, right? So I know some people sign up for classes and they don't look really close. Last semester, I had an online class that had class meetings, Zoom meetings, but I had students that were convinced that there were no class meetings. So they weren't coming to class, and then they failed because they never came to class, right? You need to come to these class meetings because I will be explaining things that otherwise you're not going to know how to do, and then you're going to get a bad grade, probably a failing grade. So it is very important that you come to class. We're not really seeing, or I'm not really seeing, in statistics especially, people not coming to class and then passing, because you're going to be, you don't have exams in this class. I'm not giving you tests. What you will be doing instead is making a project. Well, in class, I'm going to be talking a lot about that project, like hours, right? Like over the next 18 weeks, the hours and hours will be spent on this project in class, me telling you what the expectations are, me explaining to you what you should be doing as parts of that project. You're going to form groups where you're going to talk to each other about your project. So you're kind of going to help each other, guide each other through. So when you have a question, you can help each other out with it. And then presumably we're going to end up in the classroom again at some point, and you all will be helping each other in class with your projects. Some students want to skip all that and then at the end just say, so can you just tell me what the project's about? And I can't, because by that point we have spent dozens of hours talking about the project. I can't just get you up to speed in 5 minutes and say, oh, okay, yeah, I spent, these other students I've spent dozens of hours with talking, but I'll just explain it to you in 5 minutes. It doesn't work that way, right? And then your project is going to be bad, and then you're probably going to fail. So I highly recommend come to every class meeting, right? Come to office hours when you have questions, when you don't know how to do a thing, which is going to happen. Okay, statistics is not like your other math classes. It is confusing, it is different, it is weird. That's why I'm going to have you all form groups so that you can help each other out, because a lot of your questions you're going to be able to help each other within your groups. But then also, when the whole group is stumped, come to me. And you don't have to wait till the whole group is stumped, but some people are a little more comfortable talking to a fellow classmate and asking a question than they are coming to me. And you shouldn't feel like that. That's why we have office hours, so that you can come ask me questions. But some people are just, they get intimidated by a professor or whatever. So I want you to also be able to ask your classmates when you have a question. Go, I don't understand how to do a confidence interval on this question. And then your classmate says, oh, I already did that. Let me show you how to do it, right? And then the next week, you'll probably be answering a question for them. They're going to go, I don't understand hypothesis testing conclusions. And you go, oh, yeah, I just did that. Let me show you how to do it. So you'll form a group to help each other out, which can be very helpful. But also you should be coming to me and answering questions. I have to watch all these video projects at the end of the semester. And I'll tell you, it's much more enjoyable to watch really well done statistics videos than it is to watch really bad ones. So I think I had 3 statistics classes last semester, and it was over 3 days, I think, maybe close to 4 days watching videos. And it's much more enjoyable to watch students who know statistics talk about it than students who are trying to like fake their way through the project and don't really know what they're doing. So very important that you're coming to class, getting that information about how to do the project properly so that you can get the grade that you want in this class. I can give you a passing grade, which is good for the school. You can get a passing grade, which is good for you. And we can all say that class went well, right? That's kind of the goal here. So, like I say, I'll talk about the project, not a ton today, kind of depends on time. But I want to get through some basics. So one thing that might be a little confusing for students, we generally meet, and this class is scheduled to meet from 10 to 11:50. So that's what we loosely call 2 hours at the school, because they give you a 10-minute break at the end. The school has decided that while we are remote, so while we're doing like online meetings instead, the school does not want our meetings to go past 90 minutes. So we're actually going to meet for about 20 minutes less than the schedule says. I'm doing that because administration has told us we really would like you to try to not Zoom past 90 minutes. So that's what they want us to do. When we are in class, presumably at some point we'll be in class, we will meet for the full time, right? Not just the 90 minutes. But as far as Zoom, they want us doing it for 90 minutes. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you wonder why we end around 11:30 today instead of 11:50, that's why. The school wants us shortening our Zoom sessions. Okay. The good news is this is a class that we have found a way in the math department. One of my colleagues sort of put this together to really streamline this class so that you can do a lot of it on your own. The mechanics of things you'll be doing on your own. So there's really 2 parts to statistics, right? A lot of you, all the math classes you've ever taken was about memorization, which isn't really learning math, right? But unfortunately, that's how a lot of times math gets taught, is that someone showed you how to do a problem in class, and then you went home and you worked on those problems until you memorized it. You may not really understand it or know why you care about it or why we want you to do it, but you were able to like solve that equation. Solve this linear equation. You went home and you practiced it till you had it memorized. You may not understand why you care about solving equations, but you memorized how to do it and you got that problem right on the test. Statistics doesn't really work that way. If you try to memorize how to do stuff without understanding what it means, It's just, first of all, it's a huge waste of time. What's the point of learning a mathematical algorithm but not getting like why you care? Who cares how to solve an equation? Why do I care about that? Just because I want an A in the class? That's not really a very good answer, right? Because we're supposed to be teaching you bigger things than getting a letter grade in a class. Hold on, I gotta close this door. So there's two parts to this course. There is the mechanics, the calculating a confidence interval, calculating a hypothesis test, calculating basic probabilities. Those mathematical calculations that you have to do are important, but the truth is in this class, software is going to do most of it for you. Included with your purchase of the online homework platform, you get access to StatCrunch. So while some of the basic formulas you should be able to do by hand, because if you can't, like calculating the mean, you should be able to do that by hand, because if you can't, that means you don't really understand it. But some of the calculations we do are very complicated, like calculating a linear regression. It's generally not done by hand because it's a fairly in-depth calculation. StatCrunch is going to do that calculating for you. But this class is not just for you to like read StatCrunch output, right? This class is about you learning how to use statistics. So you do have to know how, you're going to learn how to use StatCrunch to calculate things for you, but that's the least important part of the class. Because if all you're doing is reading a piece of software, then what good are you really, right? The important thing about you in statistics is understanding the results, being able to make conclusions, being able to make recommendations, understanding the statistics that are sitting in front of you and deciding, do I agree with that politician on the radio? They just made a conclusion, but I think maybe their conclusion is wrong. I think they just, based on this data, I think they made the wrong conclusion. I think maybe they're trying to mislead me. That's a decision that you should be able to make at your job, right? No one at your job is going to care that you can calculate a confidence interval. No one's going to care. No one's going to say, that's cool. You just calculate confidence intervals? Awesome. They care that you can make a recommendation about the business, right? So they're going to say, how many parts do we need to order for next month? And you're going to go, well, let me go figure it out. And they don't really want to know that you used a confidence interval or some probability or anything like that. They just want to know, how many parts are we supposed to order for next month so that we can keep the production line moving? You see, you have to think in that big picture. Otherwise, what we're doing here is just it's sort of a silly game, right? So keep that in mind. You're going to need it to do well in this course. You're going to need it to make a project that gets a passing grade. You're going to have to understand the concepts of statistics, because you kind of can't fake it. On a test, people can get through math calculations and sort of fake like they know what they're doing. I can tell you, you can't do it in a video. If you get up there and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be obvious in the video. If you do know what you're doing, you have the opportunity to explain that and show me that you know what you're doing. And I don't want to scare anybody. The video project that you're going to make for the end of the semester, the way I want you to think about it is that it's your opportunity to show me what you've learned. That's all it is. We're not doing like publishable research in this class that we have to worry about it being published. It's the project that you're going to work on is just showing me, hey, I've learned all this stuff you wanted me to learn. Here's my confidence interval, and here's what it means. Here's my hypothesis test, and here's what it means. Here's some probability that we calculated. Here's a connection between this piece of data and this piece of data, and we didn't expect that, but we saw it when we looked at the data. You're just showing me that you learned how to understand statistics. So that's what we're going. So you will be making a video at the end of the semester. Don't panic about it. As long as you do the work, you do the homework, you're coming to class, you should be fine. Okay? The problems start to arise when students are trying to cut corners, right? Trying to find shortcuts. There is a group of you who are very interested in learning, which is great. That's why us professors go into professing, right? Because we want to help people learn. And that's good, right? If you're in here going, yeah, I want to get an A in this class, I want to learn this material and get an A, that's great. That's the right attitude to have. There's also a group of students, maybe not in this class, probably at least some, students who are just saying, I don't know, I just need to get my C in here so I can check the box off, and I'm going to do as little as possible. I'm going to aim for 70.0% and do as little work as I possibly can to succeed. Let me tell you, that is a recipe for failing the course. Okay, that generally doesn't work. That's the emails I get. Students who are targeting 70.0, and then they end up with a 68, and then I get an email at the end of the semester saying, can you just give me a 70? I really want a 70. I'd like that. Can you do that for me? And then I look, weren't attending class, weren't doing the homework. It's not going to work. So the right attitude to have in here, which many of you already have, is I'm here to learn statistics, right? Not I'm trying to get the minimum grade I can to move on. It's I'm here to learn statistics, because if you learn statistics, the grade will come naturally, but it doesn't work the other way around. Okay, so I just want to make sure we're all thinking the right way on day one, so that like I say, I want as many of you to be successful in this course as we can make it, and obviously you want to be successful in this course as well. And part of that involves having the right mind frame, which is learning the concepts of the course, right? I would go so far as to say the concepts are more important than the calculations, because we have software that'll do calculations. No one's going to hire you to do statistics calculations. No one's going to care. What they want to know is, can you make the interpretations? Can you make the analysis make sense in the business setting or the research setting or whatever it is that you're trying to do? You want to think about that. Think about how is this making me valuable, right? How is this course going to make me valuable? And the understanding the concepts will make you valuable. The calculations, not so much. You have to know how to do the calculations, but no one's going to hire you because you can calculate a confidence interval, right? So with that said, let's see. Okay, so let's get into the syllabus and talk a bit about that. So you can't see all of this. I don't have the whole, why is only part of this? Do I have this right? Oh, yeah, this is right. Sorry, I have my different classes set up differently, and I can't always remember what I've released and what I haven't. Okay, so most of your course is already released. Not all of it. There'll be some additional stuff that we do. Most of it will be project related, but I'll be discussing that as we go, right? I can't just tell you everything about the project today, because as I've mentioned, we're going to spend at least an hour a week on the projects. I can't just explain the whole thing today, but we'll be doing it as you do a chapter. You'll do part of your project, and then you'll complete another chapter, do part of your project. You'll be going like that, and if you keep up like that, it won't be terribly hard. Another thing I want to mention, and this is in here, supposedly this is the last semester the school's doing this. I don't know. They keep telling us it's the last semester, and then they keep extending it. But right now, the bookstore will cover the cost of your online homework software. In other words, the school is buying it for you. Okay? The bookstore isn't. The bookstore is Barnes and Noble. They're interested in making profit. So when people say the bookstore is giving it to you free, it's not. But the school is paying for it. So you're not paying for it. The school itself is paying for the software that you need. So the price is always changing, somewhere around $70 to $100. But the school will pay for it. So what you do is you go to the bookstore. You tell them you're in my class. Right, so you have to have it in your schedule or whatever. They might need the CRN number, but just go into your VC portal, pull up your schedule, and then you can either go to the bookstore, which does have reduced hours right now, and if you go on campus, you have to do the screening and all that kind of stuff, but you'll be doing that presumably in a couple of weeks when we all meet on ground. But it's a little bit of a pain to get to the bookstore. You can go there in person, which really is the easiest way to do it. If you print out your schedule, go to the bookstore and say, here's my stats class, give me what I need, they'll just take care of you. You can do it by email and phone, but my students have mentioned that it's a little bit harder. Like sometimes the bookstore's not getting back to you as quickly as if you just go there in person. Every person that I've had say, I went to the bookstore, I showed them my schedule, they say, I walked out with what I needed. I've had other students who say, I keep emailing them and no one's getting back to me, right? Many students, it's working if you email them. Many students, it's not. Same with calling them. They can't always help you through the phone. Sometimes they can. So it's up to you how you want to interact with them as far as how you feel comfortable going out in public right now, being in a building with lots of people. That's your call. But I can't really handle the bookstore side of things. I can only direct you to them and have them take care of it for you. So with the online homework, there's sort of two levels of free here. There's the free temporary access. Do you see in the orientation module, it's got Get My Lab Access, free access for 14 days? That just always happens, because what happens is we know students don't always have the money they need to buy their books on day one of the semester. This allows you to not get behind on the homework. So when you go in and you sign up, there's a spot in there where, and like, see, watch, if I click this, see how there's like pictures and everything that tells you exactly what to do? Like telling you exactly where to click and everything. Just follow that. And this is easy. A lot of students miss this because they see the access code that you get from the bookstore or buying it yourself with a credit card. They don't see this down here because a lot of us are trained. This is where, like, on a website, we ignore this part, right? That's like the little writing at the bottom. And it's like ads. We just have trained ourselves not to look there. So you have to look. You can get temporary access free for 14 days. So this happens every semester. I will have students coming to me in weeks 2 and 3 and saying, oh, I just haven't done any homework yet because I couldn't afford to buy the license yet. You don't need to buy the license yet. You sign up for a 14-day free trial, and then you don't have to get behind. So that's not really an excuse because it's free for 14 days. It's also free for the whole semester, but you have another step you have to do. So what you should do today when we're done with class, like you're not going to have any math homework today, but you will have homework for the class. So what you should do today when you're done is go in and follow these directions right here, the Get My Lab Access. Follow the directions on this page that's right at the top of your modules, right? It's right at the top of the orientation module, Get My Lab Access, free access for 14 days. Click that, follow the direction, get yourself signed up for the free access. Then that gives you 2 weeks to work it out with the bookstore. Now, here's another frame of mind that some of you already have the right frame of mind, some of you need to change. There is a tendency, and it's growing among students, to go, oh, I have 14 days. Okay, I'll take care of that on day 14. Don't do that. It's a bad way. Procrastination there's research that's showing one of the biggest things that hold people back in life is procrastinating, waiting till the last minute to do things. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't do that on homework. Don't do that on getting your access. So if you have 14 days free access, try not to take more than 7 to get the license. Because what happens is sometimes when you go to actually do a thing, something goes wrong. The bookstore doesn't return your email, or they don't answer the phone when you call. And then now all of a sudden you have a problem, okay? And that now you don't have access. If you give yourself 7 days and something goes wrong when you try to contact them on day 7, that's okay. You can still do the homework. Try again on day 8. Still do the homework. Try again on day 9. You can still do the homework. Try again on day 10. The likelihood of you having trouble for 7 straight days is unlikely, right? So you see how that works out better? I get the same thing with homework. I'll give you 2 weeks to do an assignment. It's due at 11:59, and then some student at 12:05 will be saying like, oh, I didn't get it done in time. If you've been given 2 weeks to do an assignment and you don't get it done on time, that's on you because you waited till the last minute to do it. If you're given 2 weeks to do an assignment, try to show them, try to do it at least 2 or 3 days ahead of time. Try to turn it in 2 days ahead of time. And then if something goes wrong, you still have 2 days to fix it. You see what I'm saying? So that is one way to be. If you just implement that into your studies, where you just do things, say, a couple days before the due date, you will score higher than like 80% of students at the college, right? You'll be in that top 20% just because you do things 2 days earlier, right? And you won't get late penalties because you don't turn your stuff in late because you turned it in 2 days early. You won't have zeros where a professor doesn't accept your stuff, right? Just turn it in a little bit early. Same thing here. Don't wait till day 14 to try to get your full access. Try on day 7, or better yet, day 1. Get your free access and then go contact the bookstore. Those are the students that end up getting A's because they do everything so well and where they're not stressed out. It's stressful to do things under a deadline, right? If you're like, oh, I got to get this in 5 minutes or I'm going to get a 0, you're probably not doing a very good job on that assignment because you're just trying to get it in so you get some kind of points. Those people that turned it in a week ago, they weren't stressed out when they did their work. They were just worrying about doing a good job, and then they got it turned in. That's one of the things that a student can do that just that you will find that you're more successful in your stuff. Let's see. If we show them our schedule at the bookstore, do they know exactly what book we need? Nope. So if you just show them, so the way it works with the bookstore is we tell the bookstore ahead of time, like months ago, although there's always a little changing because the classes get moved around at the last minute. But for like, of my 5 classes this semester, 4 of them, the bookstore had my information like 2 months ago about what books I was going to give for each class. So assuming that your teachers have done that, and I have done that for this class, if you just show them the schedule and it has like the CRN and my name and stats, they can look it up in their computer and go, oh, I know what you need, and then they'll just take care of it for you. So yeah, all you have to do is take your schedule to the bookstore and they'll know what to do for you. Okay, they've got it all in there. We basically fill out their database with the books that we want and the materials we want, and they do it. What I will say, they sometimes try to sell you extras. Like they'll say, well, this is recommended. The stuff from my course, there's no like recommended extra stuff. Like they'll try to sell you like cheat sheets, like these laminated things. Like you don't need any of that. What you need is the license so that you can do the MyLab homework. That's all you need. It's a Pearson product. Okay, we've tried to get the bookstore to stop throwing in like the extras. That's the business model now, right? When you go buy fast food and they want you to supersize it. Like you go to Best Buy and they're trying to sell you like a warranty. Like everyone's always trying to sell extra stuff. The bookstore does that too. You are only required to have the online homework access. That's all you need. You don't need extras, okay? Right. So please stay on top of that. Those of you who are really shooting for a good grade, don't procrastinate on that. Okay, let's take a look at the syllabus. So here's the syllabus, and there's a couple things we need to know. So we have been told by administration they want us putting the COVID practices inside of our syllabus module. That's because when we do end up in a classroom, there's some things you're all going to need. One is to be vaccinated. Technically, you can get an exemption, but the last time I heard, for the thousands of people that are both professors and workers and students at our school, I heard there were 3 exemptions given. So it's literally like there's a very, very small percentage of people in our society, and it's really small, but people who literally have medical conditions where they can't get vaccines. Like they have like a very special, like they're basically allergic to stuff that's in vaccines. It's very, very rare. Right? Those people can get the exemption. But outside of that, there's very, very few legitimate reasons that the state of California is allowing exemptions to the COVID stuff. So if you have not been vaccinated yet, just realize in a couple of weeks you won't be able to get on campus, which also means you won't be able to attend class, which means you're probably going to be removed from the class because it's an on-ground class. So make sure that that you have that taken care of, right? And you can see a lot of that's in here. Oh, let's see. Here's a question. Oh, right. Yeah, so I know it's confusing. So there's the 14-day free trial. That's just from the manufacturer, the Pearson company, is they know that it's very difficult for students if you make them pay on day 1. So the Pearson, manufacturer of the textbooks, gives you the 14-day free trial. What the bookstore gives you will then take care of the rest of the semester. So once you get what you need from the bookstore, you're good for the whole semester. You're good to go. You don't have to worry about it again, which is nice. You just take care of that, and then it's good. So just be aware of your COVID practices. It's linked here. We're going to, the school takes these seriously. I, as a professor, will take these very seriously. I don't really want to get COVID. I don't want any of you giving each other COVID. I can't bring COVID home. My son has some immunity issues, so it would be very bad if I brought it home. So we will be taking COVID very seriously when we are in the classroom. Okay, so these COVID safety protocols will be followed, or you will not be in the classroom. Okay, it's just that straightforward. So they're telling us there's the screening. We're all going to get a wristband with a color on it. They change the color each day, so you can't get a wristband on Monday and wear it for the whole week. We all of us, including me, including people in the bookstore, including the dean and the president of the school, will all have these wristbands on every day that have the same color. You have to go through the screening. Basically, it's going to ask, do you have symptoms? You have to have already shown you can submit your card to the school, your vaccination card, and they will put in there, okay, you're good to go, but you still have to do the screening each day. If you show up to class without a wristband, I gotta send you packing, okay? Again, don't wait until the day before we go to meet in class to upload your stuff to the school. There's going to be, I can tell you right now, the day they tell us, okay, on the, whatever, I'm making this up, but when they say, okay, on the 15th, we're all starting school again, the school is going to be inundated with vaccine cards on the 14th. They might not be able to get through them all. So again, don't wait till the last minute. Do it a couple days or now, or a couple days earlier or now, and then you don't have to worry about it. And I don't want to kick anybody out of class, but if you haven't followed the rules, I have to, right? So if you are vaccinated, that's great. I would recommend you go into the VC app on your phone, and then but what happens is there's a spot where it says about your vaccine card. You literally, in the app, will just take a picture of your vaccine card, and then they verify that it's legit and everything. And then the color of your passcode on campus changes to blue. It's blue if you've been verified vaccinated. Don't wait on that. Right? Otherwise, you're going to end up missing some classes. We're going to have to do the QR code scanning. We'll talk about that. Masking, got to wear a mask. It's not a negotiation. We're not going to have conversations about your research that you did on 8chan or whatever. Like or 4chan or whatever. We're not doing any of that. Like, masking is required by the school. So you're going to, it's required indoors. All employees, the employees, the students, everyone, we have to be masked. So we'll be doing that. We'll be social distancing as much as possible. If this class doesn't get much bigger, we should be able to social distance fairly reasonably. Also, just be aware when we're in the class, I will be ventilating the classroom. So windows will be open, probably a door will be open so that we're getting that circulating air so that you're not breathing each other's viruses in case one of you is asymptomatic and doesn't realize that you're carrying it. So, if it's a cold day, probably bring a sweatshirt or something like that. And then you can see there's directions, what the school has instructed us to do. If a student is not following the safety protocols, basically you leave the classroom is what happens. So just be aware of all that. Most of you are going to be fantastic, but we do have a very, very small percentage of students who sort of want to talk about their rights and stuff like that. It's not the place where this is a statistics course. I'm following the rules put forward by the school. If you don't like the rules put forward by the school, I can't change it if I wanted to. So trying to convince me about some conspiracy that you read about is not going to get you anywhere. You want to talk to go to a board of trustees meeting and tell them what you think about it. They're the ones who made the policy. Telling me doesn't do anything. I can't change the school policy. So that's what you should do. If you have a problem with the COVID practices, go to the board meeting, talk to the board. Okay. All right. As far as the syllabus, and that's there for anyone who wants to read. It's there for you. Okay, our syllabus, elementary statistics. I have taught this course a ton of times in my, 12, 13 years of teaching full time. I've taught statistics a ton. I've used different books. It's actually a fun course to teach. It's an interesting subject. And I've sort of refined things over the year, and I think we're at a much better system than the old system where we just threw tests at people. One of the big things that we're doing more and more where education is going is what they call authentic assessment. And in math, it generally means we don't just throw an exam at you that has a bunch of calculations on you. We try to test you in a way that really shows whether you've learned or not, and the project is one of those. It's one of those ways, right? So like I say, we'll be talking about that a lot. So who am I? Dr. Frederick. So quick bio. I got my PhD in mathematics, I guess 13, 14 years ago, something like that, Colorado State. I taught full-time in Washington State for 4 years. Now I'm done here. I think this is my 9th year at VC. Must be. I started in 2013, so this must be year 9. And I've taught statistics a ton, right? The state changed some rules about the way community colleges organize their math departments a few years ago. And one of the consequences of that was that we have a lot of stats classes. That's why some of you didn't have to take algebra. You used to have to go through the algebra system. Now the state has said you can just go straight to statistics, which is why we have lots and lots of statistics classes. So anyways, this isn't my first time teaching statistics. I have taught it a lot of times. So you can be comfortable that this is not my first time teaching the course. My office is Science 237. I won't probably be there in the next few weeks. But once we're on ground, you may want to come see me in office hours or something like that, so you'll know where it is. It's actually very conveniently located in that science building. There's a set of us on the end of the building. Our offices are right by the parking lot. So my office is like 30 feet from the parking lot, maybe 40 feet from the parking lot. Probably like 30 feet from the parking lot. So very easy to find and get to. I'm on one end of that science building. My email is right here. People sometimes come to me and say, I've been sending you emails. You never get back to me. You got to spell my name correctly. People like to leave out the second E, or they like to add letters on the end and make it Fredericks or Fredrickson. I'm not sure why people do that. My name is Frederick, not Fredericks, and it's not Fredrickson, but people do that. I'm not going to get your email if you send it to me that way. But this is this is one way of contacting me is through email. You're welcome to do that. I would prefer that you email me through Canvas or that you message me through Canvas. The reason for this is if you message me through Canvas, it tells me what class you're in. So a lot of times students will email me with a question and go, how much, when is the next homework assignment due? Well, it takes me like 5 minutes just to figure out what class you're in, right? And that might sound like not that much, but if I have 10 students who emailed me and none of them told me what class they're in, that's close to an hour I spent just figuring out what class you're in. That's time I'm not helping students. So if you send it to me in Canvas, it tells me what class you're in, and I immediately have context for your question. I go, oh, I know what they're asking about, and then I can just answer your question, right? So I would prefer that you contact me through Canvas. If you really want to email me through my school, email me, you can, but you need to, give me that information, like what class you're in. I'm in your Monday morning statistics class. Oh, okay, I know exactly who you are and what you're asking about then. Do try to give me as much information as possible. If you contact me either through email or Canvas, please give me information. I regularly get emails that are like one sentence, and I don't even understand what the student is asking me or what they want or what they're talking about, or they'll just say like, I'm having trouble on the homework assignment. I'm like, okay, but I don't know what to do with that. I don't know which homework assignment you're having trouble with. I don't know what class you're in. I don't know how to help you, right? So give me enough information that I can figure out what you need and give you a response that will be helpful to you, okay? So the best thing is to come to office hours, and like in a short conversation, I can usually help you quickly. But if you want to send me a message through Canvas or email, just stop and read it at the end. Make sure it makes sense. Sometimes I get stuff that doesn't even, like, grammatically doesn't even mean any, like, it doesn't make sense. Words are missing, stuff like that. So just read your email and go, does this make sense? And then go, did I give him all the information he needs to answer my question and to help me? If those are in there, then it's very easy for me to help you. Otherwise, I'm kind of stuck, and I might just say, can you come to office hours? Because I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. Office hours are for now on Zoom. Once we go back to class, most of my office hours will be on ground because I'll be at school at the time of my office hours, and the Wi-Fi in my office is not reliable. But my office hours will be in my office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 9 to 10, Monday, Tuesday from 12 to 1. Those office hours are times that you can come talk to me. Really about anything regarding the class, you can come and go, I have questions on this one homework problem. Okay, let's take a look at it together. I have questions on the project. I don't really understand what you want me to do here. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's look at what you've done, and then I can give you some feedback and help you move forward. What I will say is the more that you've put into it before you come to me, the better off you're going to be. Because, like, let's say I do hypothesis testing in class and you don't understand it, and you haven't really done any homework, and then you come to my office and say, I don't understand hypothesis testing, and then I show you another problem, it's probably not going to help much. But if you come in and say, I tried to do the hypothesis testing, and I thought I was doing what you did in class, but you can see I'm getting this number here, but the homework is saying it's this number, and I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong, then I can probably look at what you've done and go, oh, I know what you're doing wrong, and then I can help you through it. But if there's just nothing, then me answering the questions is not as helpful because there's nothing, like, I don't really know what the issue is. But do you see what I'm saying? If you've shown me, I keep doing this wrong, and I go, oh, I know what it is. You're using the sample mean and not the population mean. I can see that in your work that you're using the wrong mean. And then we fix it, and then you're good. And you go, oh, I understand now, right? So that's helpful. The final exam. In this course, we do not have an exam, but the final exam is when your project is due. Okay, so that's what the school still calls it final exams, but they don't have to be exams. I have to make something due at that time, so that will be the project. So that's what we're calling the final exam. We're supposed to put the information of when the final exams are in our syllabus. That's a requirement that we have. But the school has gone to a model where they don't release the final exam schedule until mid-semester. So it's kind of weird. They tell me, like, okay, professors, make sure that your syllabus has the time of the final, but we're not going to tell you the time of the final until April. Like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do then? So basically what I've done is I've given you the address where they will post the final exam schedule. So whenever they get around to posting it here in a couple months, you can look and find out when that's going to be. And we'll talk about it more as the semester goes on. But you can go look whenever you want about when that will happen. Okay? Grades. So 50% of your grade is homework, 50% is project. Okay? And it's the traditional 90, 80, 70, 60 for A's, B's, C's, and D's. Now, this is an important sentence. Don't miss this sentence. In addition, students need a score of 70% in homework or higher in order to receive a C or higher for their course grade. In other words, if you have only done 50% of the homework, you cannot get a C or higher in this class. You have to be doing the homework consistently. Okay? And the reality is, if you only do 50% of the homework, you're going to get a failing grade anyways. But a lot of students reach a point, and I get it. It's hard being a student. I know. Most of you have jobs. I had to wait tables to put myself through college. It's tiring. It's exhausting. And students will convince themselves, oh, I think I can still pass if I just get an A on the project and I only do 50% of the homework. But that's a fantasy. If you only do 50% of the homework, your project's not going to be very good, and you're not going to get an A on your project. So I'm putting this in here just sort of so you realize you got to do the homework, right? You should, if you want to be successful in this class, your homework grade should and is very reasonable to be in the 90s, right? If you just put in the effort, your homework grade should be like I see a lot of 92s, 93s, 94s, even from students that like struggle, but they do the work. And that's a lot of what school is. People think school is about being smart. It's not. It's about doing the work and putting in the effort when other people are being lazy and whatever, they can't get it done or whatever, but you're doing the work. You're putting that work in. You're staying up a little later and getting your work done. That's how you pass classes in school. So put that work in. Make sure you're doing the homework. You won't pass the class without doing homework. So make sure that you're doing that. Now understand these. I had a couple students last semester confused, and I think this is really a result of we're letting students leapfrog algebra and go straight into statistics. The problem is then we have students who don't understand things like percentages and stuff like that because they've skipped the algebra. I had a student last semester who was like, well, my grade is really good. Why did I get a failing grade? And I said, well, your homework grade is 47%. That's like an F on your homework. And she was like, yeah, but homework is worth 50% of the course grade. And I said, yeah, that's right. And she's like, well, but 47 out of 50 is a good grade. That's not how that works. You want 100% or at least in the 90s on your homework, and that grade is it's weighted to be half of the course grade. Does that make sense? If you don't understand that, come talk to me in office hours and I'll explain it to you. But your goal is to get 100% on homework, 100% on the project. Now, you probably won't get 100%, but if you shoot for 100% on the homework and you get a 94, you're still pretty good, right? You're probably going to get a good grade in the class. So don't shoot for like cutoffs. That's why I see students failing, or one reason I see students fail, right? Try to learn and understand. That's why we're here, theoretically, is for you to learn the material, okay? And I know a lot of what I'm saying for some of you, you're like, isn't this obvious? But I can tell you it's not obvious to everyone, right? So that's why I'm explaining these things. Homework. You will have some homework in Canvas. You will have some homework on the online homework system. Most of the homework system that you're regularly doing on a daily basis will be inside the My Math Lab work that is given to you by the bookstore. Okay, that's where most of your homework is going to take place. There will be some Canvas assignments. So let me show you here. If I go back, let me close this and go back to modules. So there's some how-to stuff here. So there's another module here. After the orientation module, there's another one, how to work through the lessons. This is showing you how to work through the lessons that you're going to be doing. There's some optional notebooks. Okay, those are optional. It really helps you organize your work. Now, one thing you want to do when you're considering, like, there's this sort of negotiation students sometimes have with themselves, like, I'm going to skip this step because I don't think it's going to help that much. But there's this idea, I think it came from like Asia, but there's this concept of go slow to go fast, right? Sometimes not skipping a step now means that you're going to save a lot of time later. And this is one of those. These notebooks are optional. You don't get points for them, but many students find them very helpful. And then when they're confused on a homework problem and they're like, I remember this being in the notes, you just go back real quick, takes you, 20 seconds to go find it in the notes that you put together and go, oh, that's what it was. That's right. Versus a student who's like, I remember that was in the video, but I don't remember where in the video it is. And then they can't find it and then they get the point wrong. So for some of you, filling out these notebooks is going to help you get to your A in the class, right? It's again, go slow to go fast. Doing a little bit of work now can save you a lot of time later on. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're deciding whether you want to do this optional part or not. And right here, how to upgrade to full MyLab access, paid but free of purchase through the bookstore, right? So then there's some directions on how to do that. And then the way homework works in this class is there's two parts to the homework. There's the lesson part where basically you're going to watch a video. So here, I think it should let me in if I do this. And it says, oops, where's the, oh, there it is. Sorry, I pushed the button too early. Load 1.1 assessment. And then you've got some, oh, wait, this is the assessment? I thought I was in the, wait a minute. I was doing did I hit the wrong one? I want the lesson. Yeah, 1.1 lesson. Okay, so start assignment. So I'm in the lesson here. It shows me some objectives, so I know what I'm learning. Oh, we're going to define statistics and statistical thinking. Here's the things we're going to do. Okay, notice you go in here, you get a few steps in. Here's a video. Okay, I'm going to watch this video. So you watch it, and then what happens is it's going to ask you a question. It wants, basically, you're going to prove that you watched the video by answering a question of the information they just gave you in the video. Okay, you get points for this. This is part of your homework score. So then you'll go through and you'll complete all these objectives, and then you will have finished the lesson. Then what you're going to do is you then go to the actual assessment. This is like your homework. They're both homework points, but this is kind of like time that you would have like a little bit of a lecture of a concept, and then you answer a couple questions about it. Then you have the actual homework where they're like, okay, now it's down to business. You've got some questions to answer, and then it's like homework that you've seen before. You've got these questions, and you'll answer them, and so on, okay? Now, what I will say, because some students get confused, you should be doing all of them. You should be doing the lessons and the assessment. You can see they're both worth points, right? The lesson's 13 points, the assessment's 13 points. Now, what I will say is they're weighted. So these 13 points are not the same as these 13 points, but you shouldn't worry about any of that. You should just be trying to get all the points. Don't worry about which are the ones that are worth more. Just get all the points that you can, and then you'll be good to go. Okay? And then you'll just work your way through. And you can see the due dates. These are due January 24th. Now, I give you extra time on the first assignment, the first chapter, because I know some of you are going to take a week or more to get your homework set up for whatever reason, right? So you might go, wait, the first chapter's due January 24th, and then the next one's due January 31st? That's only a week to do the second one. But remember what I talked about earlier? You shouldn't be waiting till the 24th to turn these assignments in. You should be working on them like tomorrow if you can start them. So don't wait until the due dates. If you wait till the due dates, you're kind of going to be a little bit behind, okay? So work on the due date, work on these, try to get them done. You know, what if you got this done by say the 18th, and then that gives you extra time to work through chapter 2. You see what I'm saying? So, so don't think that you should be, you know, if chapter 3 is due February 7th, don't be doing the homework on February 7th. That's that waiting till the last minute. You're going to be stressed out. Probably not going to do as good a job. Do them a little bit early. Do them early, and the grades will be better. I can tell you, the students who generally turn stuff in right when they're due don't score as well as the students who turn them in a little bit early. So you're going to go through the whole course like that. Can you work ahead? Sure. Don't necessarily recommend it, but you can if you want to. Now, we're going to have other stuff. It's not published yet, so you can't see it, but see how there's this? It doesn't have the green check. That's because I haven't published these yet. But at the end of each chapter, you're going to do part of the project. And I will open this up, and you're going to work on your projects. Oh, part of it actually is, oh, that shouldn't be published yet. We'll talk about that in the future. You'll start working on your projects. So you'll be doing the project throughout the semester, so it's not some big scary thing that you'll be doing at the end of the semester. So these points here will count towards the project. You want to do a really good job on these because these discussions that have to do with the project, I generally grade pretty easy. So when we get to the part where it's the part of your project where you're doing confidence intervals, right down here, it'll be where is it? Estimating a parameter, which in this case is like confidence intervals. When I grade this part, I'm pretty lenient with the grading because I just want to know, do you know what a confidence interval is? Do you know how to go into StatCrunch and have it calculate a confidence interval, and then you can make a conclusion from it, okay? If you can do those things, then you're probably going to get credit for this assignment. When you have it in your project, I'm expecting a little bit more because you've had more time to understand it and work with it. You're tying it under things. The level that I expect is a little bit higher when it's in the actual project. Okay, so in other words, these points are easier to get than the actual turned in project. So make sure you get these. I have some students that like will miss a few of these, and those zeros that you get on here can hurt because they're kind of, as long as you've been doing the homework, these are pretty straightforward 10 points counting towards your project. It's better to get an easy 10 points than an easy 0 points, right? So anyways, I'll point those out as we move along the semester. I'll be pointing out, okay, make sure you get your groups submitted and all that kind of stuff. Each person is doing their own individual project, but you will have a group that you can go to and talk to people about stuff. I want to make that very clear. You each have to turn in your own assignments and projects, but you will have a group that is sort of working on similar stuff that you can talk to when you're stuck. And then, of course, if you're all stuck, come see me, and I can work it out with you, okay? Trying to move through things here fast enough. We're running out of time. I might go a few minutes over the 90 minutes, but I got to make sure we go over stuff. So the project we'll talk more about. I literally will be talking about it for hours. Like I say, we'll spend at least an hour a week, sometimes more, talking about and working on the project. You have to be in class. You can't expect that I can just summarize, 20 hours of work that we've done on projects for you in 5 minutes at the end of the semester. People will ask me to do that. It usually means those people's project is going to get a failing grade because they don't know what to do and they haven't done anything on it. So basically, again, it comes down to do what you're supposed to do your homework, stay current with assignments, don't skip assignments, and you'll be fine. At the end of the semester, you'll be making a video, minimum of 10 minutes. 10-minute videos usually don't get a very good grade. Most of the grades I've seen that get like A's, you're talking like 14 to 20 minutes, which sounds like a lot, but we have 10 chapters of material for you to create your project. That's like 2 minutes a chapter. That's almost nothing. So even if you're not, I'm a teacher, I can get up and talk all day on stuff, but many of you don't have that experience with public speaking when you make your video. But 2 minutes per chapter is very small. So it's really not hard to hit 20 minutes. I've had students turn in 45-minute videos. Those students got A's, not just because they were long. Don't think about your video in terms of the longer I make it, the better grade I'll get. Because if you stretch things out and make a long video, but your content is bad, you're not going to get a good grade, right? It's like the same thing you do when you're on YouTube. You go watch some video and you're like 2.5 minutes in and the person's just talking about like how they want you to subscribe and they want you to click like, and you're like, you haven't even answered the question that I needed when I clicked your video. What do? You close it and you go to someone else, right? So don't stretch your video just for the sake of making it longer. I put these up here because the reality is if your video is 10 minutes and 20 seconds, it's probably not covering everything you need to cover. You probably didn't include all the stuff in a meaningful way. So 10-minute video, 10-minute minimum, shoot for like 15, right, is usually a good rule of thumb. If it's under 15, then you should ask yourself, did I cover confidence intervals? Did I cover hypothesis test? Did I have some project visuals? Did I give conclusions? Did I give the basic statistics? Right, that's like 5 huge topics. You can easily spend 4 minutes on each of those. Right, so like I say, we'll talk more about this kind of stuff. Don't just read StatCrunch data. I have students that do a hypothesis test on StatCrunch, and then they just read the p-value is this, the null hypothesis is this, the alternative hypothesis is this. If all you're doing is reading a screen from StatCrunch, then you've really done nothing, right? StatCrunch did some work, but you didn't do anything. So make sure that you're thinking about what I talked about, which is concepts, connections, interpretations, conclusions. That's what's valuable, okay? And like I say, like that might seem scary. I'm going to talk to you so much about projects this semester that you're going to know what to do. If you're showing up to class, you're doing the homework, you're going to know what to do for your project, because I'm going to tell you what to do for your project, okay? Oh, and if you're not like a hobbyist movie maker and you don't have, all the like Adobe movie making products, or you don't have Final Cut for Apple or something like that, don't worry about it. I have students who make the video on their phone, and as long as I can watch it and I can see what you've done and I can hear you, that's fine. But it has to be a video. Do not turn in a PowerPoint. I have students turn in a PowerPoint. That's not the assignment. You get a 0. Some students say, oh, but I put audio in my PowerPoint. That's not a video. I had a couple students do that last semester, even though they were told not to, and their projects were just a mess. Like it wasn't even watchable. Like the whole thing was a disaster. You have to turn in a video. If you want to make the video low budget with your phone, I'm okay with that. I've had students turn in very good projects that they made with their phone. I'm totally fine with that. What I'm looking for is the content. Can I see your visuals well enough to know that you did a good job? Are you giving me conclusions? Are you covering the material in the class? Again, you're showing me what you learned in this class, right? That's what the project is really about. So do all of that. And we'll spend lots of time talking about the project. You can come to me with questions and ask me about the project. All that's going to be fine. So don't stress. As long as you're someone who's like, I'm planning to do the homework and show up to class, don't stress the project. We'll be fine. Okay. Behavior, basically, the school has policies about acceptable behavior. Don't cheat. We have policies about COVID protocols. Don't disobey those. Don't be rude to your students. Being intolerant of other people, stuff like that, it's not going to fly. Basically, people can't learn in a stressful situation. Your brain doesn't work that way, right? You have to be relaxed. You have to be safe. You have to feel comfortable in order for your brain to learn, because we're not that far. Like, we like to think the human beings were so advanced and we're so smart. We're really just animals that have managed to figure out how to live in these wooden boxes. Our brains still betray us when we're scared, when we have anxiety, when we are stressed. And I see it all the time with students, perfectly good students, but, a parent dies in a tragic way, or even worse, their child dies in a tragic way. I've seen all of these, and that person is in such a heightened, stressful state, they can't learn anymore, because your brain doesn't learn. When you're stressed out, when you're anxious, your brain goes into survival mode. Survival mode is not learning mode. So, and this is, this opens a whole can of worms about society and students being stressed out because they're having to work. I mean, like I say, I had to wait tables so I could pay for tuition to go to college. When you're exhausted because you're working all the time, you're tired, you have family obligations, you might have to watch your siblings or your kids, stuff like that. Like, it can be really stressful. So, don't try to do your homework while your kids are also asking you to make dinner, because you're not really going to be able to devote yourself to the class. But as far as behavior, that means that when you're in my classroom, you can feel safe. People are not going to be allowed to make fun of you or say bad things or whatever, right? Part of my job is to create a learning environment, and part of that means that you feel safe, right? That covers things from COVID to maybe someone doesn't like your lifestyle and they want to say things about it. None of that kind of stuff is going to be acceptable, right? We are here to learn statistics. We're not here to judge each other. We're not here to harass each other. We're here to create a safe environment so that people will be in that right mental state to learn, okay? So basically, follow school policies and we'll be fine. Okay. Even online, even on the YouTube stream, that's considered class. So if you say something on the YouTube stream to somebody that would be against school policies, you're going to probably end up having we have these reports we have to write up when people are acting against school policies. And then you'll end up having to talk to a committee that's like, why are you saying things to these people? Stuff like that. So just be a good human. Okay. Be a good person. Treat people in the class the way you want them to treat you, and we'll all be good, okay? And don't cheat. Important dates. So you've got your last date to drop with a W, last date to drop without a W. Those are just things you as a student should know. Not that I'm telling you any of you to drop, but again, a lot of times people think that being a good student is about being smart. What does it even mean to be smart, right? We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses in different ways when it comes to intellect. It's not just about being smart. Part of it is working hard. Part of it's being informed. Part of it is realizing I took too many classes this semester. I need to dump one. And here's the date I need to dump one by. I have students that will, every semester, I have students that will come to me and say, they'll say, do you think I should drop this course? And then we'll sit down and look over the grade and I can give you advice. A lot of times I have students with they're right on the borderline of passing. And I'm like, don't drop. If you just raise that grade a little bit, you'll pass the class. You don't want to start over. But I also have students that come to me to ask me do you think I should drop this class? And I go, well, the drop date was last week. So it's not even an option for you, right? You want to make that decision before the drop date passes so that you can decide if you should drop a class or not. I don't want any of you to drop, but if taking 5 classes means you're going to fail 3 of them, but taking 4 classes means you could pass all of them, then you have to be strategic as a student. You have to pass your classes in order to progress in school. So try to make good choices. Try to make smart choices about stuff. ADA statement, if that pertains to you, read it and work with the EAC. I'm not allowed to directly do anything that hasn't gone through the EAC. So if you believe that you should be getting accommodations from the school, talk to the EAC. They will instruct me exactly what I'm supposed to do, and then I do what they tell me to do. So sometimes students come directly to me. By law, I'm not even allowed to give you accommodations unless it's gone through the EAC. So that's who you want to make contact with, is the EAC, and realize the EAC doesn't work overnight. You can't go to them and then the next day have accommodations. It takes time. So go, again, procrastination, right? Go to them now and get your stuff worked out. And then when they get me the paperwork, I do whatever they tell me to do, okay? If you don't know what that is, then it probably doesn't pertain to you. If you do know what that is, don't procrastinate, okay? We don't have exams in this class, so for the most part, it's not going to make as big a difference. And the YouTube videos are automatically closed captioned. So that right there is 95% of accommodations are sort of automatically taken care of. But if you have a different accommodation, by all means, talk to the EAC. They'll contact me, and then it'll all be done correctly, okay? The rest of the stuff in the syllabus is just, it's course description, student learning outcomes, course objectives. You won't know what any of this stuff is yet, because if you did, you wouldn't be in this class. Right? You don't know what a t-test is, a hypothesis test, any of that kind of stuff. Variance, standard deviation. If you knew those things, then you've already taken statistics, right? But we have to put them in the syllabus, partly in case you ever, if you go to Channel Islands or Santa Barbara, UCSB, they know Ventura College and they know, oh, yeah, you took statistics there? Yeah, we either accept it or we don't. But if you go to some school in Minnesota, they're going to go, we don't know who Ventura College is and we don't know how they teach. Sometimes the syllabus is helpful. You can show them and they go, oh, okay, that's basically our class, so we'll give you credit for it. Okay. That's why that's in there. Okay. What else do I want to get? If there's any questions, as you can see, excuse me, someone already put some questions in the chat, which is great. Then I was able to answer them. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them into chat there. Let's see. So that's what we'll do. Like I say, the project I'll fill you in starting in a bit. You are going to be forming groups of about 3 people, probably 3 people here in a couple, maybe next week we'll start that process. Kind of depends. If it looks like we really are going to be back on ground in 2 weeks, then I kind of would rather start discussion of the projects when we're on ground. But if it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, like some people are suggesting we might be, then I can't wait that long. So part of when I assign us working on the project will depend on, does it look like we're going to be back in the classroom in 2 weeks or not? So we'll work from there. So that's why I'm a little unsure, because I'm not sure if we're going to be in a building or online for how long. So basically what you should do, start at the top of the Canvas page and work down. Make sure you understand the orientation stuff. Make sure you understand the how-to. Make sure you've looked at the resources. These resources you may or may not find as useful. But then you just start at chapter 1, work your way down. So I have some people that go through and do the lessons for each one. I wouldn't recommend that. If you do the 1.1 lesson, right after that, you should do the 1.1 assessment. Then do the 1.2 lesson, then the 1.2 assessment. I've never quite figured out why people do the lessons first. I think it's maybe because they're easier. So they just kind of blast through the lessons. But you need that information to do the assessment. So it kind of makes sense that you do the assessment right after you do the lesson. Then you're going to remember everything better, and then it's going to help you cement it. That's how homework works, right? Like, we talk about it in class. I introduce you to some stuff. I explain some stuff, but your brain doesn't really make sense of it until you sat down and do it yourself, right? Yeah, ask any math teacher. We've heard this a million times. Well, it made sense when you did it. It's easy when you do it, but then when I go home, I have trouble with it, right? Well, anything is easy when you watch someone else do it, right? I can watch someone else build a house. It's easy to watch someone build a house. It doesn't mean I can build a house myself. So watching someone do something is not learning, right? It helps if you watch someone do it, but then you go, okay, now I'm going to try to do that same thing. Probably going to mess up. If I watch someone build a house and then I try to build a house, I'm going to screw up. But while I'm screwing up, I'm learning from my mistakes, but it's helpful to me that I did watch that person build a house, right? That's what homework is. Some people think, well, I'll just skip the homework because it kind of made sense to me in class. Not until you've done it have you actually done anything. So yes, watching me talk about statistics is helpful, but that's not understanding statistics. Not until you've gone and done the homework does your brain go, oh, I get it now. I get that thing he talked about in class. When he said it, I was like, why does he keep mentioning this? Now I get it, right? So basically just work your way down. Make sure you're ahead of the due dates. I recommend getting the stuff in a little bit early. The homework assignments are set up in a way that you can continue them past the due date, but you get a penalty. It's worth half credit. So let's say you start an assignment and you're halfway through it. The problems you've done, you'll get full credit on, and then past due, you do the second half. You're only going to get half credit for those problems that you did after the due date. And that might seem like that's not a big deal, but 50% are failing, right? So you don't want too many 50%, or worse, if you don't get everything right, then you might end up with a 30% on an assignment. Those hurt. So try to do stuff ahead of time. Try to not be doing stuff after the due date. And part of that is by getting it done ahead of time. If something's due on the 24th, try to have it done by the 20th. And then you can get a jump start on chapter 2. You can work a little bit ahead with that kind of stuff. That's students who are successful in school, right? Who have that kind of a mindset for that stuff. And then basically each chapter is going to get progressively more difficult, right? Means and medians and stuff like that, pretty straightforward. So like chapter 3, most of you aren't going to struggle too much. By the time we get to, chapters 8 and 9, the first time through, you're going to go, what is any of this? What is anybody talking about? This doesn't make any sense. And then, you keep working on it. You go, okay, I think I get it. But like hypothesis test involves a lot of logic that people get very confused about. The first time you think you understand hypothesis tests, you don't. You just don't, right? You think you understand it. Like you start off and you go, I don't understand hypothesis tests at all. You keep working on it and you go, okay, I understand it. You still don't. You keep working on it and go, oh, I thought I knew it before, but now I really know it, right? It takes some effort to get to that point where you really understand what's going on with these problems. So it's going to take some time. So give yourself time, plenty of time to work on these assignments and work your way through them, because you need to be pretty good at it in your project. When you create the project, it's going to have to be, decent, because it just looks really bad if you get up there and you don't know what you're talking about and you're just reading a StatCrunch, printout. The grade will not be good. So again, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but you got to give yourself time to do the homework and to complete the assignments to do a good job on this kind of stuff. Let's see. I didn't see any questions get thrown into chat. So I'm assuming there's no questions. No one came in late. If anyone came in late, make sure that I know that you did so that I don't mark you as absent because, like I say, coming up soon, people who aren't doing homework and who aren't attending, part of my contract, I have to drop people. So, here we go. Let's see. Oh, okay. So, someone came in late, so that's... Donovan W, right? Okay, so gotcha. Okay, good. Then I won't. You're not in danger. So, and then, is it Javon or Havan? Can you tell me how to pronounce that first name so I'm not saying it wrong all semester? Is it a hard J? Is it an H? How do you pronounce that? Because then I can. Javon. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Okay. So I got you. So that's pretty good. We're only missing one person. I assume Willie D did not come into the room. That's really good as far as attendance. That's what we need to see all semester. If all of you keep showing up like this, you'll have the information you need to do a good project. You'll have the information you need to do get a good homework grade, and you can pass this course, right? The bottom line is the school wants you to pass. You want to pass. That's why we're all here. So keep that up. Don't allow yourself to make excuses that you don't need to come to class and stuff like that. I'm talking to everyone right now. Don't give yourself that easy way out because that's when people end up starting to fail unnecessarily. I haven't reorganized the YouTube page yet, but I will go through. This class will have a playlist so that if you miss class, you can go back and watch. But I highly recommend you come to class. That's another one of those things where students are like, well, I'll just catch it later. I'm going to go to the beach with my friends. But it's just not the same. There's research that shows like being live in a classroom is not the same as watching it later. You literally like don't retain as much. Right? They've done work where a student will give a presentation and they take the video of that presentation and show it to students. The students watching the video at a later date score lower on assessments than the students who were watching live, right? So there really is something to being there live that helps you be successful, and I would love it if we had, if everyone who showed up today passed the course, that would be fantastic. So, okay. So let's see. I think I'm a couple minutes over what they wanted. So just as a reminder, a couple major points. We are currently online. We will at some point have to be back in the classroom. Hopefully we'll be back in the classroom. You will need to have all your stuff set up so that you can get through the screening. That includes being vaccinated. And all right, I think most of you probably are vaccinated. The school has to have your vaccination record. So make sure that you upload that, preferably sooner rather than later, so that you're all cleared. The first time we meet in the classroom, you won't be like, well, they haven't approved my vaccine card yet. Right. Don't wait till the last minute. Get that done now. And then the next time that we meet, I will begin talking about material for the course. We'll actually get into the material of the course. We'll get into learning. What would really be great is if the next time I saw you, most of you had set up your access, either your free 14-day access or your full semester paid access from the bookstore, right? But like I said, sometimes it takes people a few days to work out the situation with the bookstore to get the free access from them. So in the meantime, you just go up, follow these directions, and you can set up your 14-day free trial. I know it's weird. There's two things that are free. There's the one short-term one so that you can literally go in there today, and as of Wednesday, you'll actually have homework to work on. And the truth is, these early chapters are easy enough that some of you could just start working through it right now, and you'd probably be fine before I even say anything. Set up your free access so that at least I can see your name in there. I can go, oh, these are the students that have signed up. Good. And then that gives you 2 weeks to start working on the free upgrade through the bookstore. Don't procrastinate on that one, because it might take you a week to get the license from the bookstore. So you don't want to wait till day 14 and then have to wait another 7 days to get your license. Try to get that process started so that you'll have the license when your 14 days free trial runs out. You're like, oh, good, I already have the code that I need. And you just enter the code and you're good to go. Okay. I'll talk about StatCrunch. Oh, I should show you, though. I don't think it comes up in Chapter 1. We can talk about it later, but you'll have a link inside of some of your homework problems. You'll see this the later we get in the course, more and more problems will have this little, it's like a blue rectangle with a line through it. That opens the problem in StatCrunch, which is going to do a lot of your statistics for you, but I don't think there's much of that in Chapter 1. So I'll talk all about StatCrunch. You're going to use StatCrunch for your projects. We'll talk about all sorts of things, okay? So that's kind of your homework for the first day, is to get your homework set up. Go in, get your account made so that you have your account. And I want to be clear here. You should be accessing the homework through this link over on the left. See where it says My Lab and Mastering on the left? Do that. I will have students that email me and say, oh, it's asking me for a course code. If it's asking you for a course code, you did it wrong. Basically, if it's asking you for a course code, what that means is you went to pearson.com and then tried to register. Don't do that. We're not even supposed to do that because of privacy reasons. The accounts are handled differently, and your privacy is not as protected if you do it that second way. If you do it through here, then Pearson doesn't actually, it seems like they do, but they don't actually get your private information in the same way. And we as a school institution have an obligation to protect your privacy. There are state and federal laws that protect your privacy. That's why, like, we have some students that are underage that are attending school. I can't even talk to their parents about their grade because their privacy is protected, right? And it's the same for you. I can't go to someone else and say, like, can you believe so-and-so is getting a F in my class or something like that? Like, we can't do that. Your information is protected. So when you're trying to set your stuff up, you use this link right here on the left, the My Lab and Mastering link right here. See, when I click that, it brings this up. And I've already set mine up because I had to set the course up, so my view is a little bit different. But you'll have this yellow button too, and you're going to click that. Okay, that's how you're going to get in there. And then it's going to say, what's your name? What's your email? The reason it wants an email is so that if you forget your password, it can do a password reset. That's the only reason, right? I don't think they send you a bunch of garbage ads and stuff like that, okay? So that would be great. If I come back on Wednesday before class and I see that 17 of you have signed up for this account, I'll be very, very happy. That's not likely to happen, but the more of you that sign up for that usually is a pretty good indication that we have a pretty solid class of go-getters that are gonna do well, right? Okay, so basically the way I close our class meetings, because I know this class goes till 11:50, but while we're on Zoom, they don't want us having Zoom meetings of more than 90 minutes, and I'm already slightly past that. So the way I generally close meetings is that I will close down the YouTube stream, but I will leave Zoom open as long as people want to talk to me, assuming I don't have to start class or something. So anyone who wants to if you have a specific question that you didn't want to ask when the whole class was there, come ask me right now. You can always do that. It'll be the same way when we're in the classroom. When we're on ground, I'll stick around and you can talk to me. When we're here on Zoom, I'll stick around and you can come talk to me and ask me any questions that you want. Now, once everyone's gone, I'll close Zoom down, so don't leave and then come back. But actually, I think I have an office hour right now too, so I actually will be available. No, the office hour starts at noon, so I probably will have a short period where I'm not on here. Bottom line, if you want to talk to me, come talk to me in Zoom, and I will try to answer your questions for you. Otherwise, I will see you in a couple days, and hopefully you will have set up the online homework. Okay, thanks, everybody. Let me